The first major move against the Talmud was in Paris in 1240, when the Talmud was gathered from around the French Jewish community and burned in a great conflagration in Paris. But in some ways most interesting was the burnings, after the invention of the printing press, when books began to multiply, when the Talmud, therefore, became far more available, the church saw that the Talmud was now coming into the hands of many more Jews. Every Jewish manuscript from the Middle Ages was a singular manuscript. So all of a sudden, when books were printed and hundreds of copies produced, the church looked with a little bit of suspicion, and then when it recognized how many of these copies would come into so many hands, it began to act against Jewish books. The Talmud was the first to be burned, but later on, particularly in the 16th century, the mid to late 16th century, official church censors would act against each and every Hebrew book that was published and go through page by page and would cross out, using a heavy ink, any part of the printing which was considered to be objectionable. What's interesting is that the ink that was used for the censorship was not as durable as the ink that was used for the printing. And so today, we still have some of these books. We can see exactly what the church objected to, and because the censor's ink has faded, it actually serves as a kind of highlighter. We can see precisely what the church didn't like, and our eyes are drawn to it immediately. What I've got here is a declaration which comes from Venice in 1553. The date is the 21st of October, 1553. And this declares that the Talmud has been outlawed. It's called a blasphemous work. Anyone caught in possession of the Talmud after a certain short period of time can be thrown into jail. And those works that were gathered were burnt together, again in a grand bonfire, in order to eliminate what was considered to be this very dangerous work from the community. There was not a lot of burning because once the church began to censor actively, it became difficult or impossible for the printers to include these problematic passages in the Talmud. And so already by the end of the 16th century and then beyond, we find printings of the Talmud where the objectionable texts have already been left out. No reason to burn, no reason to censor, because the printers have already self-censored.